I never expected a day that started with hope to end in humiliation. My small business had been my dream, a project I poured every ounce of energy, every spare hour, and every cent I had saved into. It was not just about profits. It was about proving to myself that I could build something meaningful from scratch. At first, the neighborhood had been supportive, curious, and even kind. Some clients complimented my efforts, saying, "It is nice to see someone putting real heart into this." Others, though, were not as kind. Neighbors whispered behind my back, colleagues made sly remarks, and some business owners openly mocked my small shop. "You think this little place can survive?" one of them said with a laugh. "Good luck paying the bills." It stung. Every word, every chuckle felt like a stone thrown at my dreams. I wanted to defend myself, to argue, to scream, but instead, I smiled, politely nodded, and kept working. The shame, the gossip, the mocking, it all became fuel. The turning point came when a competitor came into the neighborhood, a large shop with a name everyone recognized. They opened right across the street, and suddenly my small shop felt microscopic. The whispers escalated. "She does not stand a chance now," someone said at the cafe down the block. Why even try? I felt my stomach twist, but I refused to show weakness. I stayed. Silent, I reorganized my inventory, improved my displays, studied my competitor methods, and found every tiny opportunity they were overlooking every evening. After closing my shop, I walked across the street, observing what they did, how customers reacted, and where they made mistakes. It became a game of puzzle I was determined to solve. Months passed, and quietly I built a reputation for quality, friendliness, and unique offerings that the big competitor could not match. Customers began leaving comments online. "I prefer the small shop." Across the street, "The owner is amazing. Nothing compares to the personal touch here." Every positive review, every repeat customer was a silent rebuke to the skeptics who had laughed at me. Gossip continued. My competitor employees whispered about me trying to downplay my success. "She is barely keeping up," one of them said to a friend who shopped at my store. "She will not last the year," but the whispers only made me more determined. Every underestimation, every mocking comment became part of a larger plan in my mind. Then I noticed something that others had not. My competitor was not paying attention to community engagement. They focused on flashy displays, promotions, and volume, but they ignored relationships. They forgot that people cared about feeling valued, being remembered, and connecting with someone who genuinely cared. I decided to focus there. I organized small events in my shop, personalized promotions for loyal customers, and even hand-delivered thank you notes to regulars. Word spread. Fast, people began crossing the street to support me, telling their friends, bringing family members. The competitor noticed the shift. Some of their staff even started complaining about the drop in business. The local gossip reached a fever pitch. "Have you noticed the crowd at Hannah's shop?" someone asked in the cafe. "I thought she would fold months ago." Another whispered, "She is actually doing better than the big store now. Can you believe it?" The whispers were everywhere, and they fueled my quiet satisfaction. I was not reckless. I did not want a direct confrontation. I wanted subtle, undeniable success that would make them question everything they had assumed about me. Every day I refined my products, honed my customer service, and made small strategic moves to build loyalty and reputation. And then came the day I realized my competitor was beginning to panic. Their promotions became desperate, their staff flustered, and regular clients began wandering over to my shop, curious about the changes I had implemented. I heard, "She is doing something different." A client said, "Let us see what all the fuss is about." Every conversation was a reminder that my quiet strategy was working. That night, I closed my shop and walked across the street. The competitor lights were dimmed, their shelves poorly organized, and employees scrambling. I did not need to say anything. The evidence of their neglect and my careful planning was clear. I smiled and went home, knowing that the next phase of my plan was about to begin. If you are enjoying Hannah's journey of quiet revenge and clever strategy, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Mortal Revenge. Trust me, you do not want to miss the shocking way she flips the tables on her competitors. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of strategic moves. I started hosting small community events, product tastings, workshops, and loyalty programs. Clients loved the personal touch. They shared their experiences on social media, praising the attention to detail, the warmth, and the unique experience of shopping At my store, every post, every comment, and every share amplified. My presence slowly overshadowing the flashy competitor across the street. Word reached the local gossip channels. "Can you believe Hannah's shop is thriving?" someone said at the corner cafe. I thought she would fail. Look at her now. Another added, "The big store across the street must be sweating. She is making them look bad." Even the competitor employees muttered among themselves, "How is she doing this? We have tried everything." I continued to watch, learning, adjusting and improving every small victory. Felt like poetic justice. The people who had mocked me, neighbors, other shop owners, even some customers, had to witness my progress. Firsthand, every compliment, every returning client, every whisper of astonishment was a step in the story I had begun quietly, without fanfare or confrontation. As months turned into a year, my small shop had not only survived but had grown into a thriving, respected local business. The competitor who once mocked me, who had laughed and whispered about my inevitable failure, now had to deal with a rival they could not ignore. And the gossip, the community chatter, and the growing admiration became the soundtrack of my success. The lesson was clear: patience, strategy, and determination could turn mockery into fuel, laughter into motivation, and underestimation into opportunity. By now, the whispers about my shop had turned into full-blown gossip. People stopped just commenting in cafes and started posting online. "Have you seen Hannah Little's shop lately? The place is packed," one post read. Another added, "The big store across the street is losing clients. Hannah is doing something right." The excitement and astonishment spread like wildfire. I noticed that the competitor manager had started coming by my shop ostensibly to check out the layout, but really I could tell to see how I had managed to pull in so many clients. Employees would glance nervously at him, whispering, "She is completely outdoing us." And every time I maintained my calm demeanor, welcoming customers, engaging with them, and letting my work speak for itself. One particularly busy Saturday, a long-time client approached me saying, "Hannah, I have been going to the big store for years, but I just cannot anymore. Your shop feels real. Your attention to detail, the way you remember names, it matters." I smiled, politely thanked them, and handed them a small gift, one of my promotional items, with a personal note. I did not need to gloat. The look of admiration on their faces said everything. Meanwhile, the competitor team grew more desperate. They tried aggressive promotions, slashing prices, offering discounts, and even attempting to lure away my clients. "We cannot let her beat us," one employee complained to another. "She is stealing all our customers." Gossip in the neighborhood began reflecting their panic. "The little shop is doing better than the chain," neighbors whispered to each other. I never thought I would see the day, but I had anticipated this. Every move they made, I countered with strategy. I offered personalized services. They could not community events. They did not think to organize an attention to client loyalty that no flashy display could match. I stayed calm, letting their panic and missteps highlight my planning and preparation. Then came the day when the local business association announced a feature on thriving shops. A reporter visited both my shop and the competitor store. I welcomed her warmly, explained the unique approach I had implemented, and allowed the success to shine naturally at the competitor store. The reporter found disorganization, rushed staff, and little connection with customers. Later that day, the article went live, and the neighborhood buzzed. "Hannah's shop is the heart of the community." It read, "The competitor is struggling to keep up." The gossip exploded. People in cafes, social media posts, even casual conversations among neighbors revolved around my success. I always thought she would not make it, one neighbor admitted to another. But now she is the one running things. "It is amazing how she turned this around," said a regular client. "I cannot believe we doubted her." The validation felt surreal. My competitor, once arrogant and mocking, now faced undeniable reality, the staff whispered behind closed doors, trying to figure out how I had managed to achieve what they could not. "She is smart, strategic, and relentless." One said, "I do not know how to compete." With that, the manager himself grew tense and visibly frustrated. I heard him mutter, "How did we underestimate her for so long?" I had built my empire quietly, methodically, without confrontation, letting actions speak louder than words. And now the culmination was approaching. I had managed to secure contracts, establish community, trust, and build a reputation that the competitor could not match no matter how much they tried. Then I introduced my next big move, a small expansion into a part of the neighborhood they had not considered profitable. A new display, some innovative products, and a targeted marketing campaign drew attention. Immediately, clients shared photos, praised the new offerings, and word of mouth carried the excitement. My shop became the talk of the town. Gossip now included phrases like "Hannah unstoppable," "Even the big store cannot keep up," and she turned their own mistakes into her advantage. The competitor employees started panicking. Some came to observe others, tried to counter my offers, but it was too late. The narrative had shifted. Entirely, my business was not just surviving, it was thriving, overshadowing the chain store that had mocked me. During a particularly busy afternoon, the competitor manager came in trying to negotiate with some of my clients, offering deals that undercut me, but the customers laughed. "We have been coming here for months," one said. "We know where the heart is." Another added, "Hannah, attention to detail is unmatched. You cannot compete." With that, I watched silently, satisfied knowing that their mockery and arrogance had finally caught up with them. Word reached the local press again, amplifying the gossip. The small shop that everyone laughed at is now outperforming a major competitor, they wrote. Neighbors and clients shared the story, spreading it further. Social media posts went viral. "She turned mockery into triumph," one read. "Hannah showed what determination and strategy can do." I reflected on all the whispers, doubts, and laughter I had endured, every sneer, every mocking comment, every patron who doubted me had fueled this moment. And yet I never sought revenge and anger. I sought strategy, persistence, and excellence. The results spoke for themselves. By the end of the year, my shop had doubled in size, reputation, and revenue. The competitors struggled to maintain any relevance in the neighborhood. Employees and managers alike could only watch as the business they dismissed flourished. Under my quiet determination, gossip now painted me as the clever, resilient entrepreneur who had outsmarted the arrogant chain. Who would have thought she would pull this off? People asked. She is a genius. The story spread further, inspiring local entrepreneurs and reminding everyone that underestimation could be the fuel for great achievements. My approach had been patient, calculated, and persistent. Every action, every small improvement, every community engagement was part of a larger plan that led to undeniable success. And the whispers once mocking now acknowledged admiration. She did not just survive, she conquered. She proved them all wrong. We underestimated her for years, and now it is shocking. Hannah had not only reclaimed her dignity, but had redefined success on her terms. She had shown that mockery, gossip, and disbelief from others could be transformed into tools for triumph. By now, the competitor arrogance had completely unraveled. Their employees whispered about me in hushed tones, some out of fear, some out of grudging respect. "How did she do it?" once muttered. "We never saw it coming." Their manager, once so smug, now avoided eye contact, barely acknowledging me when our paths crossed. I did not gloat. That was not my style. My goal was never to humiliate. It was to succeed, to prove that resilience, strategy, and hard work could outperform arrogance and mockery. Yet the results themselves spoke louder than any words could. One morning, a community leader approached me, a wide smile on her face. "Hannah, we have been watching your shop. You have turned what seemed like a small, almost doomed venture into a hub for the neighborhood. People are talking, sharing stories, and you have become a symbol of determination." I thanked her, but internally I could not help but remember all the whispers, the mocking comments, and the doubts that had fueled this journey. The ultimate payoff came when the competitor finally admitted defeat in subtle but undeniable ways. They began scaling back operations, closing unprofitable sections, and even quietly laying off staff. The employees who once laughed at me were now looking for opportunities elsewhere, seeking stability in a business that could offer it. Gossip spread quickly. "Did you hear the big store is struggling? Hannah, little shop is the one everyone talks about." Now even those who had doubted me publicly were now speaking in tones of awe. Then came the day that truly felt like justice. Wrapped in irony, a long time supplier who had previously favored the competitor approached me with a proposal: exclusive products, priority service, and a partnership that would secure my shop growth for years. We noticed your consistency, your community engagement, and the loyalty of your clients. The supplier said it is clear who is leading the neighborhood. Now I accepted politely, knowing this move would seal the competitor. Decline without any direct confrontation from me. The gossip intensified. I cannot believe she pulled this off, a neighbor said during a casual coffee meetup. She turned their own strategy against them without lifting a finger. Another chimed in. The way she handled the situation is genius. She did not fight dirty. She just outsmarted everyone. The admiration and astonishment were everywhere. I reflected on the journey, the mocking comments, the whispered doubts, the laughter at my small shop. Every setback, every moment of dismissal had been fuel for the careful strategy I implemented. The competitor had underestimated me, assumed I could not adapt, and laughed at my humble beginnings. And yet, through patience, clever planning, and relentless focus, I had not only survived but flourished. Word reached a local magazine which ran a feature titled "The Small Shop That Conquered a Giant." The story highlighted my dedication, the unique approach to client relationships, and the resilience that had transformed mockery into triumph. Neighbors and clients shared the article, widely reinforcing my position and cementing the narrative Hannah had outsmarted and outperformed those who had doubted her. In the quiet moments, I thought about the moral of the story. Life is not about immediate victories or visible confrontations. It is about persistence, strategy, and the willingness to learn and adapt. Those who mocked, doubted, and whispered behind my back had done so out of ignorance and arrogance. I did not need to retaliate in anger. I simply needed to focus work and let my results speak for themselves. The competitor eventually closed several locations. Their former clients trickled into my shop, and the employees who had once mocked me reached out for advice or employment. They realized, albeit late, that underestimation could be fatal and genuine. Effort and strategy could overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. Neighborhood gossip had shifted completely. Hannah, unstoppable, people said. She showed us all what true resilience looks like. Even those who had openly mocked me began to acknowledge my success. Some quietly, some with reluctant admiration. Their words validated not only the work I had done, but the methodical patience that had defined my journey. By the end of the year, my shop was thriving, expanding, and deeply integrated into the community. The competitor chain, once the symbol of mocking and superiority, had become a cautionary tale. The gossip now served as testament to what careful planning, unwavering dedication, and emotional resilience could achieve. I learned something profound through this journey. Revenge does not always need to be direct or aggressive. Sometimes the most powerful payoff is quiet, strategic, and undeniable. It is about letting results speak louder than insults, laughter, or skepticism ever could. And as I walked through my shop one evening, looking at the bustling crowd of satisfied clients, I smiled. The whispers, the doubts, and the gossip that had once weighed me down were now testaments to my perseverance. I had turned mockery into admiration, underestimation into triumph, and whispers into a chorus celebrating success. This story is a reminder to anyone facing doubt or ridicule: never underestimate your potential. Focus, strategize, and let your actions define you. In the end, patience, diligence, and clever planning always win.